Thank you, Patty, and thank you, Tamara. And I look forward to hearing Linda's talk because that's where the rubber hits the road in finding solutions. It's one thing to identify the problems. It's quite another, more difficult thing to find the solutions to difficult problems. Yeah, so I'll talk about climate change. And I should point out that I am outgoing soon at the Department of Hydrology and Atmospheric Sciences at the U of A. I'm going, there's a scan issue, a typo. I'm going to the Planetary Science Institute. I am a planetary scientist. I'm a glaciologist as well. And my fit at the U of A was great. I loved the U of A. I'm sad to be leaving. I'm excited to be going to the Planetary Science Institute. As a planetary scientist, I do tend to think globally, of course in the social human sense, but also in the geological sense. And I'm going to steer away from my big temptation to talk about how the Earth works as a planet, because we're not really here so much, in my few minutes to talk about the physics of the atmosphere and all that, even though I would love to talk about it. So we're going to play a word game to start out with, and really it's what this game is you trying to think what I'm thinking, whether it's right or wrong, but maybe hopefully it's right. So our famous late U.S. Speaker of the House, blank, his name is, said, "All politics is blank." Who's the person?
Tip O'Neill.
Tip O'Neill, and said local, I think I heard. Okay, yes. I love that saying. Tip O'Neill. Not famous Jeffrey Kargel says, "All climate change is both global and
local."
Yes, of course. And it's now. This isn't just something that we're talking about in the year 2200, things will be bad. Things are changing now and have been changing for some decades now. We know what's causing climate change. It's solidly established scientifically that modern climate change is overwhelmingly due to increasing heat trapping blank blank in the atmosphere. Number one of these is carbon dioxide.
Yes.
What is it, Blaine?
Greenhouse gas.
Greenhouse gases. And here's what's happening to the carbon dioxide abundance. It jogs up and down annually due to plant growth and hemispheric, northern and southern hemisphere growth and decay of plant biomass. But the rise here is almost entirely due to human fossil fuel burn activities and also some biomass burning activities. And we know that greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, are heat trapping and that they're transparent in the visible where most of the sun's energy is, so the sunlight comes down to the surface of the Earth. But carbon dioxide is opaque in most of the, or large parts of the infrared region where the Earth tries to release heat that's absorbed from the sun due to sunlight, but it finds an opaque sky above. And so increasing amounts of carbon dioxide as well as other greenhouse gases causes the Earth to warm up enough that finally it can emit enough heat. So worldwide, climate change is causing soaring blank and melting blank, and it is changing our planet's storm tracks. So extreme weather is also affected. What are these blanks? Soaring what? Temperatures. And melting what?
Glaciers.
Glaciers. You could say sea ice if you wanted. That would be fine. Oops. Yes. Soaring temperatures and melting glaciers. That's one of my specialties. So I studied glaciers in Alaska and the Himalaya, and this is a glacial lake in Nepal. I do a lot of work in Nepal. I mentioned changing storm tracks. one of the major things going on with our planet. And I won't go into the nitty-gritty details of it due to time, but the jet streams are tending to get stuck in one position instead of migrating across the planet and bringing warm spells, cold spells, warm spells, cold spells, rainstorms, sunny weather, rainstorms, sunny weather, on a few-day cycle like the Earth typically normally operated in the past. Sometimes jet streams are getting stuck. And this is related to climate change. It's related to the warming Arctic. And well, I won't go into all the details, which I love, but so here represents a barometric pressure on the Earth during one of these stuck periods. And this happened to be, I think, last June. Does anyone remember, 14th of June. Does anyone remember the middle of last June, what it was like? Does anything ring a bell? Last June?
You mean like super hot?
It was super hot.
117 degrees?
Super hot June following a super hot spring, following a quite warm winter. Yes.
Some records
But the other side of this coin is that other parts of the country, and this is typically where the jet stream's been getting stuck, kind of right about here, and especially in the winter time. And so the East Coasters have been getting hit with snowmageddons and really cold weather. So climate change isn't all about just steadily creeping upward temperatures everywhere. Everywhere is getting warmer. Just about every spot on planet Earth is getting warmer. But it doesn't mean that we're done with weather, but short-term variations in weather. But it does mean that with stuck jet streams, we get these persistent hot, dry periods in Arizona. It seems to be the pattern, and throughout this region of the country. And at times, persistent cold weather here. I'm going to next talk about some extreme weather, and I'll start by talking about Tropical Storm Arlene. How many people remember this particular storm, Arlene, last year? Anybody? You probably heard about Harvey. You probably heard about Irma. Arlene? Well, it only reached tropical storm strength. So why am I going to talk about it? Nobody was killed. It damaged nothing as far as we know. And it doesn't look like much. This is Tropical Storm Arlene, in case you had a hard time seeing it. April 20th, 2017. Does this slide cause a question in anybody's mind or puzzle?
Where is it?
Okay. Pardon?
Where is it?
I'll get to that. What about April 20th, besides being my brother's birthday?
Yeah, it's not hurricane season.
It's early.
Pardon?
It's not hurricane season.
It's not hurricane season. The Atlantic hurricane season extends from June 1st to November 30th. It doesn't mean that there's an inviolable law that, a tropical storm goes to jail if they violate this. There can be hurricanes and tropical storms outside the season. This is when they're most common. But April 20th? My goodness! Okay, here's where it formed. Does this slide cause any questions in people's minds? Does it look odd to you?
Up high?
It's up high. Yeah, it's up in the kind of verging towards the North Atlantic Ocean. Okay, these are the tracks of hurricanes, all known Atlantic tropical cyclones from 1851 to 2012. Each one of these lines is a track, and the color of it is reddish to bluish, or bluish are the tropical storms, and red are the high category hurricanes. These are the tracks, and a typical pattern would be like this. I mean, they go all over the place, but generally they go this way. They're born here, and they die here. Arlene was born where hurricanes normally die. tropical storms normally die. Okay, then came Harvey. Category 4, North America's largest recorded 5-day rain total, over 50 inches in many places. Man, I thought we had a welcome wet spell the last few days. It rained 1.7 inches at my house over a period of several days. And we sure needed it, because prior to this rainy period, since late July, our house received only 0.7 of an inch cumulative. It's amazing that anything stayed alive, including me. Over $70 billion in damage, 65 deaths. Then came Katia up to category 4. It hit category 2 rather. Hit Mexico as a category 1. Then came Irma, and it had the record longest duration as an Atlantic hurricane at category 5. Over $10 billion, it was much over $10 billion damage. This slide needs to be updated. Poor Puerto Rico. 31 deaths, and now we know that the death toll is much higher. Yeah, I need to upgrade that slide. And then there's Jose, category 4. And Katia, Irma, and Jose were caught all in the same image, and Houston and vicinity wasn't even dried out yet. It was still flooded from Harvey. Okay, what about local? I'll get local. Tucson spring 2017 was the second hottest on record. This was a story from June 1st, 2017. And then came June. This is what I meant to have on the handouts. 118 degrees I recorded. Obviously this is not an official weather record, that's in my car. At my house it cooled down. I live out in the desert. It cooled down to 117. And on this particular day, the headline was 115 degrees in Tucson. And it was the longest 115 degree plus streak on record at 3 days. There's June 19th, 20th, 21st, 115, 116, 115 for the official high.